Guess what today is? It's Old Bike Day. So yeah, on a lot of these motorcycle channels that I watch on YouTube, these guys, it seems like every other week practically, are able to go get a new bike because, you know, this is what they do for a job. So they have that luxury. But of course, I don't have that luxury. This is just a hobby for me. But I am getting a quote unquote new bike today. Very, very old bike actually. And just a little bit of backstory. In Utah, where I live, they have a tiered motorcycle license system. So the size of the motorcycle that you are allowed to ride legally is dependent upon the size of the bike that you take the motorcycle practical test on. And I took the test on my XT250, which allows me to legally ride a bike that has up to 649 cc's. In order to ride any bike at all, I need to test on a 650 or bigger. And I've been wanting to try bigger bikes. I've, kind of had my eye on a Tenere 700 or a Touareg 660. I just want to try something bigger sometimes. But I can't legally do it. And, of course, nobody's going to let me test drive a bike that they're selling, or it's certainly not a dealer, if I'm not legally allowed to ride that size of bike. So there's a couple ways that I can increase the tier. And one of them is to take an advanced riding class that's approved by the state of Utah. I go in there with my own bike and I do their course. I don't know what it entails, driving tips and whatnot. And then after I go through their advanced riding course, which I think is just a day, I can rent one of their 650s and jump through their hoops or whatever they have you do on the 650. And then they give you a waiver so you don't actually have to take that test at the DMV or the DLD, whatever it is. And then I'd be good to go on whatever size bike I want. And the other option I have is I could just schedule an appointment at the driver's license division to go retake the practical portion of the motorcycle exam on a bigger bike. I could bring in my bigger bike, retake it, and then I'm good to go. The problem with that is I can't legally practice on a 650 unless I go in first and get another learner permit that allows me to ride any size bike, practice, then I could go in and take it. So it's kind of a hassle. But there is kind of a loophole. See, when you go in to take your test, they ask you what your bike is. So like when I took my test the first time, I said I'm riding an XT250. So they write 250 down for the cc's, and I am legal up to 649. But technically speaking, my XT250 only has 249 cc's. So my son, who took his test on a 125, he's legal to ride a bike up to 249 cc's. So technically he's legal to ride my XT250, even though it's called an XT250, because he's legal for up to 249 cc's. But I was also able to take my test as a 250 on my XT250, so I'm legal for up to 649 cc's. So that's kind of the loophole, is you have a little bit of overlap. So I could technically ride a bike that was 649 cc's legally right now. And if it's called a 650, then I can go take the test on it, and it will bump me up into the highest class of motorcycle endorsement. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy this old bike. It's called a 650. I'm going to fix it up. It's definitely a project bike. I'm getting it for a steal. Hopefully it's a steal. Maybe it's a total disaster. We'll see. But I'm going to fix it up, have some fun doing that, hopefully, and then take it out on the trails, have some fun with it, practice with it, and then go take my test, and I'll be legal to ride whatever motorcycle I want in Utah. Okay, I'm back home with my new old bike. And without further ado, here it is. Hold on. Here it is. A 1994 Suzuki DR650. Now the DR650 is one that has been on my short list for quite a while for bigger bikes I'd like to try. However, they made some pretty major changes, as I understand it, in 1996. And like I said, this is 1994, so this is very old school. But the price was right. I picked this thing up for $800. So I can't really go wrong with that. I mean, I could probably pull it apart and sell it for parts and make a profit on it if I wanted to. The tires are actually in pretty good shape. It does start. There's a click in the engine. The battery's dead right now. He jump started it while I was there. So there's a little click. I'm hoping that's nothing major, that maybe I can adjust the valves. I'll look at some other, that do the easy things first. He bought this a few months ago as a project bike, heard the click and just didn't want to deal with it. So he let it go for a song. But if it is something like I need to rebuild the engine, that'll just be a fun project. The plastics, are held on by zip ties and things like that. On this side, see, there you go. This side we have a plastic here that's missing. The decal here, the fancy early 90s colors, is all faded. And so to me, I don't think I'm going to try and put the effort into making this a true restore where I make it look like stock, because that's just not my aesthetic. I don't really like these, fluorescent colors. I'll probably do something to make it look more modern, more to my taste, since finding parts for this is probably going to be a nightmare anyway. But before I do anything aesthetic, I'm going to focus on making the engine run nicely, because all the aesthetics won't matter if I can't resurrect the engine. But I'm pretty excited about it. It'll be a fun project. And like I said earlier, this one, it's a DR650, so it'll get me my unlimited motorcycle endorsement, but technically it is a 640cc engine, so I'm really kind of legal to drive it with my current endorsement that gives me up to 649, so I can drive it around, practice with it, then go take the test, and I will have an unlimited license. And if in the meantime I fall in love with it, I may keep it around. If not, I'll probably sell it, and I can't imagine me losing money on this deal. So let me know what you think. This is my first Suzuki. It may not be a fair representation of Suzuki's since it's 29 years old, but now I just need a Kawasaki, and I'll have the big 4 Japanese bikes. So if any of you guys have experience with an old DR650, give me any tips you want, or if you have sources for parts, I'm sure I'm going to need those. Like I said, with the clicking in the engine, I'll probably start with the valves, check the spark plugs, put some new gasoline in it, do all the easy stuff first before I dive into pulling the whole engine apart. I'm hoping that I can make it run smooth without too many problems. But it's kind of cool. Came with the stock tail rack. I think it originally had a stock bash plate, but that has been removed, if it did have one stock. So if I get serious on this bike, I'll probably figure out something to do there. I was excited to see that it has disc brakes front and rear. I thought it might have drum in the rear, because a lot of these older bikes do. I think it used to have kind of a tail fender here that they've taken off. So yeah, it's pretty far from stock anyway, so I'm not going to try and do a true restoration. If I liked the way it looked in the 90s, I probably would be more concerned about making it look exactly like it did. But that's just kind of ugly to me. I know a lot of people like it, but I'm not one of them. Anyway, like I said, let me know what you think. Did I make a good deal, or did I just pay $800 for a bunch of garbage to sit in my garage? As always, I appreciate you watching my videos. Subscribe to my channel if you feel like it, especially if you want to see what I do with this bike in the future and hear my comparison with the 300L Rally. I definitely will be talking about that at some point. And in the meantime, ride safe.